Ready? Hit it.
Yep, here he comes. Riding his trusted steed through the Sierra foothills as he brings you the news.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
He calls himself
Charlie!
What you doing, Charlie?
Sorry, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. There you are. Look how cute.
World of Disney.
Ow, Charlie!
Charlie Simons.
Charlie bit me.
My equipment sucks. I have so many problems you just don't even know. And it's just kind of working with old stuff, refurbished stuff. I'm one of those fixed income guys now that I never said I would be. I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. Just ask me. I'd tell anybody, oh, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire before I'm 30. Yeah, well, I did all right. I was worth a couple of million at one point in my life and career, but things happen, like stock market crashes and real estate crashes and 2 divorces and that stuff. Now here I am, this fixed income guy that I always said, oh, I'll never be that. Oh, no, I'm going to be all set up. I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to sail around the world. I'm going to have a deep water catamaran. I'm going to sail around the world. You know what I'm going to do when I get through with that? No, what? I'm going to sail around the world again. Yeah, look at me. That was me. I always big dreamer. But coming from the po folk side of town, as I did, as we were affectionately called, Ditch Bank Okies, was my family on my mama's side, Ditch Bank Okies and Arkies, coming out here after the Dust Bowl or during the Dust Bowl and the Second World War. My grandfather and great grandparents, just Grapes of Wrath stuff. You ever see that movie? John Steinbeck, one of my favorite authors ever. Henry Fonda is in the movie, and just an extraordinary film. Grapes of Wrath, extraordinary book. Book is better than the movie, as they always say. And that was my history on my mom's side. My dad's side wasn't all that much more all that. Down in Bakersfield, Taft, a little town called Taft, which is about 45 minutes to an hour west of Bakersfield, even further into the desert. Nothing but scorpions and tumbleweeds. Oh, and oil wells, a lot of oil wells. My dad was a roughneck. That's what they called oil field workers. But yet he had a genius IQ. Mensa level genius IQ. Brilliant mind. But a blue collar guy. Yeah, love my dad. Such a dichotomy. But one of my heroes still. And then there's me. I get into media, and I'll never forget when I first started working at the college radio station, junior college. My dad said, son, you might want to think about looking into something else because I don't think radio and television pays all that well. I proved him wrong. I did really, really well. But like I said, life happens and stuff gets in the way, and gave my life to Christ Jesus when I was 31 and lost that 6-figure income gig in the Bay Area, and still had successes and got into real estate, did really, really well with that, and had a TV show, my own TV show. There was a real estate show, and that did really well. And then 2008 happened, and it all went away. In a year, it all went away. 3 houses lost to foreclosure. So why do I tell you all this? I think maybe because getting more involved in politics than ever before, and I've paid the price time and time again. Docked, shut up, shut down, fired, all for taking a stand. And it's proven one thing to me. You can't rely on your own fellow citizens to step up and go, hey, this isn't right. This needs to stop. You're going to have to find a way to make it yourself. And my way I found was doing this podcast. Started about 5 years ago during the whole COVID shutdown. Lost my job with the Salem Media Group due to COVID cutbacks. Over 300 of us all across the country on the same day got let go. I can't blame the company. They were in trouble, serious trouble. And they're not bringing us back because people aren't hiring in radio and television. They're firing these days. Because we don't need it anymore. We don't watch it anymore. We don't need a DJ to play our favorite song. We don't have to wait to find out what fun things are happening this coming weekend from the radio or the community calendar on television or anything like. We don't need it. Everything's on our phone. So we don't need the media anymore like we used to. But yet we're relying on it more than ever before too. Social media. And social media has been absolutely next level worse when it comes to censorship and shutting people up, shutting them down, shutting them out, silencing them. I can tell you stories on that too. But suffice it to say, I think after 4 years of Biden and after 8 years of Governor Hairdo, Gavin Newsom, and 8 years before that of Jerry Brown, just a pathetically horrible governor, but yet we elected him for 4 terms. If you're 40 and under, you probably don't even realize that Jerry Brown served in the 70s for 2 terms. He was a bad governor then. Coming off the heels of the success of Ronald Reagan and others, Jerry Brown he ran us as quickly as possible towards socialism. Then he went away, but then he comes back. He comes back and we elected him twice. And then the mayor of San Francisco, Gavin Newsom, who legalized homosexual marriage within the city limits of San Francisco, which when he announced he was running for governor, I went, there's no way he's going to win. He went completely against everybody's will, legalized homosexual marriage in San Francisco. There's no way he's going to win governor. Boy, was I wrong. Twice. At least terming out. We have a chance of actually having a Republican. My guest today, Arthur Schaper. He's back. Everybody loves Arthur. We were both saying, please vote for Chad Bianco. We both were. And then President Trump came out and said, I'm endorsing Steve Hilton. Oh, shoot. Nothing against Hilton. Somebody asked me that in one of the comments on my Rumble channel just yesterday. What have you got against Steve Hilton? Nothing. And he's the only choice I have now, so I will vote for him. And I will support him. And I'll have him on the show again. I had him on twice before the primary election. He was fun. I used to watch him on Fox every Sunday night. I DVR'd his show so I didn't miss it. I liked it that much. So yeah, I like Steve Hilton. I just think that Chad Bianco would have been a far better choice for us at this juncture, at this point in our time and our history, and we're so in trouble. Because Bianco actually told me how he was going to fix things. Steve Hilton just said he was going to fix things, but Bianco said, here's how. That made all the difference in the world to me. How about my fellow Californians? Are they going to get on board and finally actually show up to vote? Registertovote.ca.gov. Registertovote.ca.gov. Please. Are we going to show up and actually vote in person? That'd be nice instead of relying on the vote by mail because that's where they're cheating. One America News thinks so. What's his first name? Preston Sharp. I like this guy. He's got a report on California. Of course, this goes back a few months. This is before the primary that they came out with this story.
Decades of radical Democrat leadership, and polls show nearly half of all voters say they'd support a Republican governor. One America's Pearson Sharp has more.
There was a 5.2 magnitude earthquake in California this week, right around the same time Kamala Harris said she might run for governor. Coincidence? Well, until the rivers run red and the frogs start falling, it's the clearest sign yet things are not well in the Golden State. In case you missed it, California's next governor could very well be Kamaguchi herself, a woman who spends all her time either lying or lying down, which is how she usually gets ahead. Just ask Willie Brown. But if early polling is any indication, even the blue-haired trannies here in California aren't banging down doors to get her into office.
California
Survey
stand.
shows that most California voters either don't care or are openly opposed to her running again. On top of that, and this is incredible in the deep blue of California, but nearly half of all voters here say they'd consider a Republican for governor. When the Democrat candidates are so bad, liberals would rather vote for a Republican, that tells you something. It also proves Kamala's brand of communist cronyism isn't fooling anyone, even here in California. Her image is in the dumpster, and she belongs in there with it. But the Democrat Party is still keeping her on life support for some reason. So with the White House off the table, Sacramento gives her the chance to stay relevant she so desperately needs. Of course, if she does run, it would be as the heir to Gavin Newsom, a man whose legacy is actually being worse than Jerry Brown. Under Newsom's watch, California has embraced open borders, rejected voter ID, and handed out taxpayer money like a Pez dispenser to illegal parasitic criminals. In fact, Newsom just signed a new law forcing California to spend 15 times more on health insurance for illegal aliens than it does on preventing fires. So, while your insurance premiums skyrocket and dry brush piles up in your backyard like kindling, the state is making sure people who broke our laws to get here have full scope health care, including dental, on your dime. Do you have that kind of coverage? I didn't think so. Mind you, this is after last month when Newsom had to borrow $6 billion in 1 month because he didn't have enough funding to cover for Medi-Cal, which is going bankrupt, providing coverage to illegal scum. That's not all. Newsom and the Democrat anti-oil policies just forced one of the last remaining refineries here in California to shut down permanently, meaning gas prices are about to skyrocket. This is exactly the kind of forward thinking we could expect from Kamalama Ding Dong. America last, as always. But there is a bright spot on the horizon, a chance to turn all of this around. It's Chad Bianco, the Riverside County Sheriff and the most promising Republican candidate in the field by a mile. And unlike the usual GOP sacrificial lambs, Bianco has teeth. He refused to enforce Newsom's lockdown mandates. He openly challenged California's sanctuary policies, and he's called for the repeal of SB 54, the law that prevents police from helping the feds remove criminal, illegal aliens from our neighborhoods. If Republicans can rally early and avoid the infighting we're so famous for, Bianco might just have a chance, especially as Hispanic voters turn their backs on the Democratic Party, betrayed by crime, inflation, and leftist policies that put illegals ahead of their own hardworking families. The next governor has to stop the sanctuary madness, fix the deficit and the debt, and make life bearable again for real Californians who are tired of being second-class citizens in their own state. And Kamala the Khan isn't just more of the same. She's the worst part of everything that's broken. As vice president, she sat back and allowed the biggest collapse of small businesses in American history. Between 2021 and 2024, 10 million small businesses vanished.
Right.
That's 1/3 of the entire country's backbone wiped out. Biden and Kamala did that together. She cheered for the lockdowns, the mandates, and $1.7 trillion of new regulations that crushed the business owners who managed to survive the first round of destruction. And let's not forget, she loved the Green New Deal. She wants to ban gas cars, hike taxes on working families, and thinks free health care for illegal alien invaders is a great idea. Courtesy of the taxpayers, of course, who can't afford to fill their own refrigerators. Now, contrast that with Chad Bianco, a constitutional conservative, a sheriff with a spine, someone who actually cares about the people who live here, not just the ones who sneak across the border. If Republicans are serious about turning this state around, Bianco is our shot, because as California goes, so goes the nation. The first step to taking back our country starts with taking back the Golden State. If voters want more fires, fraud, and freebies for foreign nationals, Kamala's waiting on her broomstick. But if they're ready to stop the madness, there's finally someone worth voting for. And no, it's not Dan Ball, although we'd love to see him running for governor. It's Sheriff Bianco. California, this is your chance. Don't be like Kamala and blow it.
Quit. Well, we did blow it. We absolutely blew it. It was such a golden opportunity, and we blew it. Republican Party didn't even name or didn't even endorse either candidate because of just so embarrassing. Here we go. This November, you realize we're less than 4 months away. Less than 4 months away from the midterm election. Are you going to show up? Please do. registertovote.ca.gov. I'm back at pushing that. Yep. Every show. registertovote.ca.gov. Not GOP. I hope you register as a GOP. Absolutely. I hope you register as a Republican, but registertovote.ca.gov. GOP. No thanks. I mean, yes, I'm a Republican, but I hope he registers that. Let's just get Arthur in here so I shut up and stop rambling. But first, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, though, and hit this like button. You hit that like button right there. Wherever you're watching this right now, that helps with the whole algorithm thing. If you comment, like Carol Ann is in the chat section. Thank you. Hello, Carol. And I agree with you. I don't know how the Newsoms are still walking around free either. But hit the like and comment and share these shows so more people find out about them. Please follow my channel at rumble.com/do-not-talk. You'll be helping me so much by doing that. Just that. I'm already up to almost 6,500 people following my Rumble channel. Rumble channel. I don't even care about YouTube or anything else anymore. They keep threatening me. They keep taking shows down and so on. Screw YouTube. Focusing on Rumble. It's the only big free speech platform left as far as I'm concerned. It's like a YouTube kind of thing. So I hope you'll follow there. I hope you'll go there. Start your own channel so you can comment and be interactive. So I'd never post anything if you don't want to, but it doesn't cost you anything. Why not? You had to do that to start up a Facebook page, didn't you? And Facebook is far more intrusive now. Facial recognition, all kinds of stuff going on with Facebook. I'm glad they took me off. I'm glad they deleted me last year. Sayonara. Tough to pass up the 40,000 people who were following me on there because it was free advertising every time I did a new show. But I got to shut up now. I really do. I'm taking too long. Arthur's standing by, and he's got a lot of great stuff to talk about. The shot heard around the world as we just celebrated our 250th birthday. Also, men playing in girls' sports and how we finally, for once, need to stand up all collectively and say, that's it, we're done. And another great article in American Thinker about consequences of abortion. Ready? Hit it.
See.
I'm having so ridiculous amount of computer problems here right now.
It's not a problem. I'm coming in loud and clear, and I see
We're
it just
live
fine.
right now. We're live on several platforms, so thank you for your patience.
Not a problem.
That's why I brought up in the very beginning. I'm in so desperate need of some new equipment. So yeah, if you can help, go to my website, charliesimons.com, right down here, and do like Arthur did. Actually, buy some of my products there. Shirts, hats, mugs. All right. Hello, my friend.
so
Welcome
much.
back.
I want to give you like a positive space. You did become a millionaire. So maybe you didn't become a millionaire at 30, but you became a millionaire. So you did. Dreams do come true, and they can be restored. So I want to just.
I met my goal. That's right. Not exactly in this time frame I was hoping, but that's all right. I'm grateful for it. Let's talk about what did you do for July 4th, Independence Day, 250th birthday. Where were you? What did you do?
Oh man, 250th. This is such a wonderful celebration. We've made it. Our republic has made it to 250 years. Everybody often says, well, republics usually don't last more than 200 years. Yet here we are. We're still standing. We have the longest enduring constitution that has been maintained, respected, and forced. That's important. What did I do? Well, in Tujunga Canyon, they have a 4th of July parade every year. Bonnie Wallace of the, the Greater Pasadena Republican Assembly, she reserves a spot and everybody can join. So I go up there, and who wouldn't want an opportunity to be able to celebrate Independence Day and to be in the parade, not just on the sidelines. So I do that. I've done that 4 years now. This was a very highly attended event. Lots of people signed up to participate. Smokey the Bear was there. I know Danny Trejo was in one of those parades 2 years ago. You've got a lot of little league sports that they joined too. So that's a lot of fun. Everybody was just really excited.
I love that stuff.
And then a veteran in Redondo Beach invited me to his Veterans Hall. It's a Post 184 there in Redondo. So I went there to have lunch with him and others. I got to see some veterans from the Korean War as well as from Vietnam. The Korean War stood out. These were Korean Americans too. And they had fought on our side, or they immigrated. I think, the different backgrounds, but here they are in the United States. I just missed him. There was a World War II veteran who had attended, 98 years old.
Oh, no kidding.
But the daughter took him home, so they got to be really careful. He's getting on in years, but they're still around.
Be at least 100.
So, it's
got to be at least 100 now.
98. He was 98 years old.
Yeah.
But you got a lot. Yeah, they're crossing into it. I know there was a couple of World War II veterans were at President Trump's celebration in DC. There's a great photo of them sitting in their wheelchairs. I mean, they're that elderly, but they get to see the entire fireworks display. What I'm really proud about too is this is such a contrast to in the United Kingdom. I think it was either earlier this year or late last year, but there was a 100-year-old veteran of World War II. He was at D-Day, and then they brought him on the show, and he just broke down and said, I am so ashamed of what has happened to our country. It wasn't worth fighting for. Oh gosh, it just broke my heart to hear that. But you know what? He was right. The United Kingdom has betrayed its veterans, has betrayed its people. We did have a similar circumstance. Sadly, this was during Biden's administration. There was a Marine, 100 years old, wearing his full regalia, and he broke down and cried and says, this country's going to hell, and the people don't know how good they have it, and they'll only know it when it's gone. I don't know if you remember that man, but it just really. I
made that video. Yeah, it was at the home that he lived in, the care facility. They threw a birthday party for him.
Yes.
And it was very touching. You're right. He was a Marine. He actually got into he still had his old uniform, or maybe they brought him another one that looked like, I don't know if it was the original, but it was just very touching. But you're right. He cried.
And I'm really glad that he spoke up. That's what we needed to hear. The veterans who fought for our country, they fought against the forces of evil. It really sickens me when I think about the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens of the world who despise World War II, who think we shouldn't have fought it. And I'm going to put Patrick Buchanan in that column. I have to criticize him for that too. He's like, oh, World War II was unnecessary. It wasn't really that bad. Well, you tell that to all the veterans who were killed at Pearl Harbor. You tell that to the people who got hurt in Goleta. You talk to the men and women who put their lives on the line fighting the Japanese, fighting the Germans, fighting the Italians. This really hits close to home too. Here in Torrance, California, we have one Medal of Honor recipient, Ted Tanui. And this man, he fought for his country, even though the government put his family in internment camps. He still fought for the country. Now that's real patriotism. You're proud to be an American, always love your country, never trust your government. And boy, what we saw with the internment of Japanese, Germans, Italians, definitely our government did not deserve to be trusted, did not deserve to be respected at that time. And yet he still fought for this country. He died in Anzio in Italy. He has a commemoration here in Torrance, and I'm praying that we can improve the memorial for him outside of my alma mater, Torrance High School. So this is July 4th, very close to home for me. Just to wrap up, I tried to go to Huntington Beach. I've always wanted to go there for their festivities, but everybody goes to Huntington Beach. I had to turn back around, come back to Torrance. We have a wonderful park up on the hill near Palos Verdes, Rocket Ship Park, and I got to see all of the fireworks displays across the bay. So it was a lot of fun. I had a great 250th. I'm so glad to celebrate.
You tried to go to Huntington Beach. You should have swung down to Newport Beach. You could have been a part of all these festivities.
You know, that just sickens me to no end.
Let's blow her through here a little bit. There we go. You got the action late a little bit later. Here we go. We got the police marching here. Yay. Look at how fun. How fun it all was.
Good, I'm glad. That's the way.
Oh, Lord help us. What was the big problem they were having? They were shooting off illegal fireworks on the beach.
You know,
because
that's
you used to be able to. Yeah.
Boy, that's a mixed bag. You know, there's nothing more American than let me explain. There's nothing more American than defying these ridiculous orders. If people want to fire off a firework, LA City, it happens every year, especially when they gave a big middle finger to Gavin Newsom and they celebrated Independence Day anyway. I remember, you know, during the COVID 2020.
It was in 2020.
I went down to Redondo Beach. We were there protesting outside, and they had shut down the beach. I went down anyway. There was the little family. I joined them briefly. I'll never forget it. Redondo Beach police. They rolled up and said, "Is everything okay?" And then they took off. They didn't enforce anything. There was a county official who showed up and said, "Please, it's closed." And we said, "We're not leaving." He didn't have authority to lock us up. He wasn't a county sheriff. So, and then we had a big celebration. We did our rally, and then all of us went down to the beach. We just blew off the county. We blew off the governor. That was a great time. You know, getting back to Newport Beach, I'm really grateful. A lot of news didn't drag down the wonders and joy of this time. You have a couple of losers and some really bad juveniles who they did another rave. They did another planned. What's the word I'm looking for? They have like a rush party.
Team takeover, they're calling it. Team takeover.
A teen takeover. We've had a couple, you know, the Torrance police, here I am talking about the South Bay again. They've been very proactive. They cut it off at the knees. They make announcements when they pay attention to social media. When a bunch of kids saying, we're going to all go to Torrance Beach and we're going to party. And they go, well, you have to have a permit to do that. If you show up, you'll be arrested. Hermosa Beach got caught off guard briefly, but they ended up, you know, kicking them out. I don't know what to say. You know, Newport Beach, they set up warnings early. They had the law enforcement ready. I give the city a break. They did what they could, I think. I didn't know. They probably didn't anticipate how wild it was going to get, but they knew that there was going to be an attempt. And the looting really bothers me. But here's the thing we should never forget. 400 people got arrested. they did get arrested. And you know what? They seem to have forgotten they're not in LA County. They're in Orange County. And I know Todd Spitzer is going to hang every one of them out to dry. He goes to the fullest extent. So
They didn't have enough room for them. Where do you keep them? Where do you incarcerate them? The jail's full. Jail's full. Where do you go?
They'll find a way. I trust that there's going to be something done, but they showed it. I mean, it's such a downer. The last thing you'd want is for a city to have police officers everywhere so people can't enjoy the festivities, or that it would be so highly compact.
They basically do now. They have cameras everywhere. Cameras everywhere.
Unfortunately, well, that's a different problem. But Newport Beach did the best it could. I'm not. I think they got to be proactive next time. They might have to keep a sharper eye, like a week in advance, so that you don't see that kind of a takeover. Here at the Del Amo Fashion Center, there were 3 takeovers, and Torrance police showed up in large numbers and chased them off. Finally, we have a new district attorney, even here in LA County, that's not allowing juveniles to just get away with stuff. They don't get to hide behind the previous DA made it clear he wasn't going to prosecute juveniles as adults. So right away, every gang, every cartel, every crime ring had the kids doing their dirty work because they knew they could get away with it. Those days are over. We only had one, so there's no more smash and grabs. There's none of that takeover crap.
Over for now.
For now. Yeah, I mean, I understand the cynicism is certainly warranted.
If you don't put some Republicans in office, if we don't put any Republicans in office this coming November, guess what's going to happen to our state?
It's already happening. Oh man.
The good guys there's chatter going on, talking about civil war and talking about having to take up arms and this kind of stuff to protect our neighborhoods and so on. And I'm like, oh, this is awful. This is horrible talk. But you did a story in Bearing Arms, right?
Oh man, this is a new website that's taken me on. It's very exciting. As you can tell from the headline, it's very focused on gun rights and the Second Amendment. I've had a really
not a shout heard around the world is your story. I loved it.
It's a great poem. It's the Concord Hymn by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I've loved that poem. It's such a very powerful commemoration. Ralph Waldo Emerson lived in Concord. He had relatives who one of his relatives was an eyewitness of the Battle of Lexington and Concord. And that's the first battle. And that was, history. That was epic. That was a worldwide shock that you had.
And we were not officially a country. We did not have a constitution. We did not have an army, a standing army when this all happened. These were farmers.
Yes.
These are farmers and ranchers and business owners and miners and whomever else was working the land and trying to survive, taking their whatever they could grab and use as a weapon, going up against the most powerful army in the world at the time, that's England, right. Which was sending the troops over in shiploads to try and squelch any kind of talk about America becoming its own independent country and getting away from England. That's what was going on. And we stepped up. We as citizens stepped up, didn't we?
It's one of the most moving moments in human history. I mean, this is a commemoration to everyone. That's why Ralph, Emerson called it the shot heard round the world. It was a signal that, individual citizens don't have to be oppressed. They don't have to settle for tyranny. But what was that great equalizer? It was the firearm. They had their guns and they fired back at the British. In fact, the explicit issue that ignited their fight was that the British tried to take their guns away. And the farmers and the businessmen said, no, you're not. And they fired right back. This reminds me of a great scene. It's in Gran Torino, where you have all of the Hmong gangbangers doing all kinds of stuff. And then they come on to Clint Eastwood's property and he takes out his gun and he says, get off my lawn. And that's exactly what it's about. Get off our property, stop violating our rights. And that's what we did as a country. And that's what the Second Amendment is about. It's not just about frightening the bad guys or killing animals. This is about keeping an evil, oppressive government in line, that they know that they can't violate our rights, oppress us, and subjugate us again. That is the whole point. It reminds me of the blow up that happened when Tom Selleck was on Rosie O'Donnell's talk show, when she had a daytime talk show. And, Rosie was like, how many guns do you need? Do you really need all these guns to shoot deer? And he corrected her and says, this is not about hunting. It's not about public safety alone. This is about keeping tyranny in line. That's exactly the message that Lexington Concord was about. That's what the Second Amendment is about. And it's a poem that I analyzed in degree. I looked at the key words that Emerson used, just really showing how there was the local history tying in with eternal value, with eternal history, breaking out. And it's just such a moving poem. And I had to stress it again, this is something that we have that has been very special. And I've talked about this on previous shows with you. We are a special, unique country in part because we recognize that governments at their core can become tyrannical. At their core, they are a necessary evil, and they have to be kept in line. Citizens must have firearms. Shame on the Piers Morgans of the world. Shame on the gun control, the Moms for America, not the Moms for America, but rather, Everytown or the, March for Our Lives people. They want to take our guns away, and we cannot allow that to happen. We have to insist, no matter how crazy things may happen, no matter how many gun deaths that may occur. People love to skew the data. It's all wrong. Having that firearm is so important. And every attempt at a revolution, every attempt at overthrowing a tyrannical government, we have seen it fail because people don't have the guns. They can't.
We see it failed now. There's all kinds of great examples. We were talking about World War II just earlier. The reason why the Emperor Hirohito, when asked why you didn't actually storm the mainland, the United States of America, and it was all because they have guns.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, look that up. There's all kinds of examples of it. Why do you think Australia and Canada and Europe, they were so hell-bent on taking away people's guns, even if you needed it for hunting or whatever, it didn't matter. And look what's happened. Look how these entire countries are being taken over and swarmed and decimated. This is awful. This is our future. The only reason why it's not going to happen is because we have guns. We're different. That sets us apart from the rest of the world. And we actually embrace it in our own United States Constitution, our God-given right to keep and bear arms, to protect ourselves, to protect our families, shall not be infringed.
I definitely want to share one stanza in the poem. I just love this, and I broke it down. Spirit that made those heroes dare to die and leave their children free, bid time and nature gently spare the shaft we raise to them and thee. This is a spirit, this spirit of liberty. This, it actually ties in with our Christian faith, our Judeo-Christian heritage. This, you see it even, I mentioned it in when analyzing previous stanzas. You had the forefathers, the Israelites who left Egypt to the promised land, overcoming that tyranny. In fact, the flight of the Israelites out of Egypt, that was going to be our national seal. I think that was Thomas Jefferson's suggestion, but it was ultimately voted down. It was too complicated. So they went with the eagle holding the arrows and the wreath instead. But it's just they were aware of what they were fighting for, and they dared to die. They were not afraid to give up their lives for this greater glory that we get to celebrate. And I was so glad when I put this together and I sent it to the Bearing Arms editors, and they ran with it, and they were able to give it, put it right there on for Independence Day. So that was
it's very inspirational. I suggest that you look it up. BearingArms.com, is it? Arthur Schaper on there, Schaper.
Yes.
Or you can go to his blog spot, and you can always see what he writes there. And I
put it up there
strongly
too.
Suggest you follow it. It's Schaper1, the number 1, Schaper1.blogspot.com.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. You gave some history of Ralph Waldo Emerson when he wrote that Shot Heard Around the World about his dad. His dad was an actual pastor and was there at where the big battle happened, was actually there and was a part of it, experienced it.
Boy, it still gives me shivers thinking about it. You know, just that
I
they,
know.
you know, and who knows, you know, these farmers, these colonists, I don't know how much they were thinking, you know, they were just knowing we're Englishmen and we don't deserve to be treated like this, and we're not going to tolerate it. And for them to fire back, you know, people don't understand how unusual that really is. I mean, in modern day, most people, they treat judges like they're untouchable. They treat police officers like they're infallible. No, they're not. They treat any force from the state as insurmountable, and that's not it. No, they are not the final authority.
No, hell no. They're scared to death of us actually raising up our voices and saying, no.
And thanks for, and I there's another one, people have forgotten this story, but another example of how the Second Amendment, it's about protecting our rights against the government. I've always loved the story of Clive Bundy, and he and the ranchers, when the Bureau of Land Management, a federal agency, was going to take his cattle, and militias, individuals from the different states, you know, from Utah, from, you know, Arizona,
Idaho,
Colorado, and they showed up and they held off and they forced the BLM to back off. That's exactly what the Second Amendment is for. The federal government had to back off. No, you're not. That's exactly what it's for.
We have way too many examples of that, and it always seems to be there's one constant. It's always under a Democrat regime.
Yes,
Bill Clinton with the Branch Davidians, of course Obama with the Bundy Ranch, and it always seems to be on the left, the clowns that do this, and will go against us in a violent way to try and quell us from actually saying, no, you don't get to keep doing this. What are you, crazy? You lost your mind. But if our own people don't rise up and don't come together, if we don't actually let our voices be heard and say, no, this isn't right. If we just sit back and go, oh, well, like, yeah, I don't really feel that way, but I'm not going to say anything because I'm afraid of people shouting at me, like what has happened with boys and girls sports.
Oh, brother. I mean,
and let's move on to that. I'm Charlie Simons. This is Do Not Talk. Arthur Schaper, great writer, and one of my favorite guests is here again at rumble.com/do not talk. Like, follow this channel, share these shows, hit the like button wherever you're watching this. Please hit that like button. You'll be helping. Arthur wrote an article in townhall.com, and it is about what I've been screaming about. I'm reading this and going, yes, 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 what I've been saying all along. Where are the women? Why aren't the women speaking up? Why aren't they protecting their daughters? Where are the dads? Why are we letting them be in roughshod and run roughshod over by another male? All I heard about from the feminists was, oh, men are trying to just keep the women down. Well, now you got men trying to keep the women down. And the worst part is the men are dressing like they're you. And you're supposed to turn around and call them a she and a her. And you're supposed to be all right with it because you don't want to stand out. You don't want your peers to go, oh, well, you're a homophobe or you're a transphobe or whatever, fill in the phobe. And Arthur, tell us about what you wrote and what your research was on what's happening, and are people finally waking up?
Yeah, I mean, this article, it was the people who enable men and women's sports. That was the title. Notice I didn't use transgender anything. It's they're men. Let us stop with all the gobbledygook. Let's stop with let's stop with using the term transgender as if it's a legitimate term for anything. The starting point was the latest decision by the United States Supreme Court, 6-3, upholding the right for states to keep men out of women's sports. And I thought, this is nice, but there are larger problems at stake here that have not been addressed. The fact is, you've had sports competitions, you've had dance competitions, you've had beauty pageants even, where men put on dresses, pretend to be women, invade these spaces, invade these competitions, and they run away with first prize. This has happened over and over again. And where are the adults? Where are the mothers and fathers who are to speak up and to shut this stuff down? There has been this calm acquiescence, just tolerating this. I remember seeing a video. This was a track and field meet for girls. It was supposed to be a girls competition, and you had a male competing in this, pretending to be a female, and he was just, hundreds of yards ahead of all the girls. I mean, men have the bigger lung capacity, they have the stronger bones, they have the larger muscles, they have the muscle mass, and he's just like out eclipsing all of them. And you have all of the people standing on the sidelines not doing anything about it. They allow this to go on. You have the parents who still enroll or enlist or place their daughters in these competitions, and they get pushed aside by the men, and nothing is done about it. This is not acceptable. This culture of accommodation. The emperor has no clothes. That dude is a dude. He's not a female, and nobody says anything. And I don't think that's getting enough attention. I don't think there's enough outrage being put on the population. People are expecting lawyers to fight the fight, or the judges to rule a certain way. But
or the school district.
Or the school district.
Or the league, the sports league. Yeah.
The sports, somebody. Look at here in California, we have
they're supporting it.
You have CIF. You've got confused man A.B. Hernandez from Yurupa Valley, who has been competing against women in their, against these girls in their sports. And you'll have like a couple of parents protest it. You'll have people outside saying something, but every adult in the stands who was cheering everything on and not saying anything, they're part of this. That's not acceptable, and they need to be held accountable for this. The closest thing I've seen to any pushback, there was another track meet. It was supposed to be a women's event, right? And so you had a confused male who got the first place, and then there was a young lady. She was on the podium, and she put her thumb down. She says, "This is not fair. This is not just." Everybody in the audience at least booed. They booed
her. Booed her.
And the confused male did not come back for the second day of competition. That's what needs to start happening.
I see what you're saying. I had not seen. I did not know that happened.
And it didn't. Of course, it doesn't get a lot of attention because corporate media is so complicit with pushing men into women's sports and going along.
There it is. There it is. Okay, let's stop there. There it is. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, we can ask the parents, why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you saying something? Okay, maybe they have. Maybe they said, my daughter's not going to compete with this in this competition because there's a boy on the field. And so no, she doesn't get to play. No one else did that. So they lose one player, maybe two, and they're going to go ahead because they're making money. They're filling stands. They're getting grants. They're getting federal dollars for putting these things on. And they don't care. Not only do they not care that you kept your little daughter out of this competition, but they're for it. They're all for this because we've watched the public education system, especially, and sports be infiltrated by wicked demons on the left. All the good people were fired during COVID. The ones who wouldn't take the shot, the ones who would dare to stand up and say, no, this isn't right. They're gone. They lost everything, and they've been replaced by these freaks who are rushing headlong into putting their pride flags in the classrooms and sports teams doing this crap. They're all on board with it. They're all in favor of it. They love what's happening to the nuclear family because they're doing their father's work just as quickly as possible, and his time is short. So
I don't dispute that at all.
Let's talk about that. How about the coaches? How about the school districts and the sports leagues that are allowing this to go on? And then we're expecting the parents to stand up against this. Well, maybe they have.
You have there's the issue. A handful, they do say something. You have a couple of girls. There was a girl in Connecticut, for example, who filed a lawsuit. Connecticut is a totally leftist state, though, and they are all in on this garbage. That to me is what that does frustrate me. It's like a couple of parents speak up, but there has to be that mass resistance. I want to give a plug. That's the pro-family group I work for. We need to all these parents need to be combining together, and they need to take all of their kids out. That's what should be happening. Or the parents, they go on the field and they say, nope, we're not going to let you do this. They do a sit-in of some kind. We are not going to allow a confused male to compete against our girls. We're not going to force our daughters to have to share, privy, intimate spaces with a male. there has to be that, we had a civil rights movement, for crying out loud, not allowing, forcing, to segregate whites and blacks. But see, this leads to the problem that we're dealing with. And I wrote about this in my article too. Everybody has been so force-fed the civil rights mindset and they've turned the whole transgender cult into another civil right. And so everybody is afraid that if they speak up, they're going to be labeled Bull Connor. They're going to be labeled KKK. They're going to be one of those segregationists. That's what people are so afraid of. And rather than deal with it, they just force their daughters to go through these humiliation rituals. BizPac Review, great article. And they literally called it, sports is turning into just a humiliation ritual for girls as they compete against a boy who completely blows past them. But it's just, there has to be an en masse response to this. People should not be tolerating it. There should be protests, people, not just protests rather, but, look, it was in Temecula Valley. You had the kids, they walked out of school. They said, we're not going to put up with boys and girls sports. That's the kind of thing that we want to see more of. Kids walking out. What kids did during the COVID nonsense. I saw it in New Mexico. All the kids said, we're not going to wear a mask. We will not do this. This is the kind of thing we need to start organizing. And here I am pushing the biggest of plugs, mass resistance. We are committed to this. We got to organize. We have to make it painful for the leaders, the administrators, every one of these adult enablers who are putting this. We need to put them, they're the KKK. They are the Bull Connors, forcing us to accept the lie that a male should be in a female space. This is never going to be acceptable. This is the way it stops. It isn't just speeches. It isn't just protests on the side, but it's getting all the kids to say, we won't do this, and we refuse to go along with it. And this is going to require a larger strategy here, but if everybody does it, how can they not succeed? They push the confused boy out. And that example where everybody booed and shamed the confused male usurping first place, that's a starting point. You are wrong. We will not tolerate this. Visit our website, massresistance.org. We want to get parents connected. If we all work together and fight this, the girls will compete and the boy will run away. That's what needs to start happening, because I understand this too. And I wrote about this and I had to kind of take a mea culpa. I've been blaming the girls. I've even been blaming the women, that they have been surrounded by a culture that shames them and tells them they have to go along with this. And what are they going to do? We expect this one girl by herself to do it. Parents are supposed to be there to encourage their girls to stand up. They need to see that example from all the parents stepping up, to see leadership on that school board saying, no, we're going to do this. Go ahead, cut our funding gamut, do some. This is something else we've been trying to work on for the last 3 years in mass resistance. We've been making connections. We've been making connections little by little with school board members to try to get a coalition of school districts to start saying, no, we're not going to comply with these laws anymore. Just like the farmers on that field who said, we're not going to comply, and they fired back. Now, I'm not saying that school boards have to get guns and start shooting at the governor. I don't think it has to get that bad. But it's time to have that uniformed mass resistance. We will not comply with this. We won't wear the mask. We won't take the jab. We won't allow the confused man in the women's sports or spaces. That's what needs to happen. The audio's gone out. I can't hear you. It's still out. Technology, gotta love it. You can hear me apparently.
I can.
I hear you perfectly.
That's been my big frustration with women saying, where are they? How come they're not speaking up? How come they're not speaking out against this? But I've seen videos and YouTube and shorts and so on of women who have stood up against their gym, letting some dude strut around with his junk hanging out, saying, yep, you have to call me a she and a her. And in the locker room, while they're all trying to dress and all trying to shower, girls in high school sports and college sports changing in their vehicles because they don't want to go into the locker room where the boys are. This is insane what has happened. And I've been saying, why aren't the women speaking up? Well, I do believe they have. Some of them are, but not enough.
That's the problem. Not
and
enough.
And then the other thing is, what about the dads? Where are the dads? How come that? Well, I see them too. I see them showing up at school board meetings. They get arrested and so on for speaking up.
One father, Loudoun County, we all saw that. But here's the thing too. I have to go after this. Part of the problem why I think there is this there's this unwillingness. Again, they're still kind of trapped with this misunderstanding of the civil rights movement and civil rights in general. They still kind of buy into that falsehood. I gave a couple of examples of this in my article. You'll have parents and they'll speak out and say, I don't want my daughter sharing, a bathroom, a locker room, or a sports team with a male. But here's the problem. They will then also say, oh, I have nothing against the transgender community. I think
They preface it with that crap.
Matter.
When they get up and speak against it, well, I have friends who have trans children. I love the trans community. Why are you saying that? Why do you have to apologize for what the stand that you were about to take? Why do we do that?
That's the problem. And that's, again, why mass resistance, we've had success, because we don't cave, capitulate, or compromise in that regard. We call out the mental illness for what it is. We call out the destruction, the perversion, the dysfunction for what it is. You don't accommodate it. You don't half-ass it. You have to call it what it is. And as long as there's this false mindset, it's always going to make you hedge your bets. There's always going to be that guilt trip. Oh, well, we're discriminating against this poor, this poor transgender female. That's a male, and the parent should be in jail for, for transitioning, mutilating that kid. You don't accommodate it. You don't appease it. You don't enable it. And that goes right back to my title, enabling. This enabling is a problem. I want to build on that point you made, which is that a lot of the people in the audience are okay with this. They are complicit. That's a big problem. We see this in California. We see this in New Mexico. There was the San Jose college women's volleyball team. They had a confused male on their team, and he hit the ball so hard that women in other sports were getting hurt. And it's like, there has to come a point where we're not going to tolerate this anymore. There has to be a rugged effort. And I got to give some credit. You have, just like there was with Pride Month last month, you had the York Revolution minor league baseball team. They all refused to play because they wouldn't wear the Pride jerseys. I think there have been examples where women have refused to, the entire team will not compete. It is happening. I've got to start giving them a shout out. Sorry if I can't give you their specific names. I remember during a fencing competition, there was a woman taking on a man pretending to be a woman, and she took a knee and she says, I will not compete. So she initially forfeited, but then they put her back in the competition. They got rid of the guy. They did. So there are people who little by little are stepping up. I want to give them that credit. I want to say this again. It's not right for us to be beating on the girls from K through 12. No. It is not fair. We need to be, who are we to expect them to do all the fighting? It's the moms.
The weirdest thing is we're literally showing approval and saying it's okay, little Johnny, that you have a freaking mental illness, which is what it is. It's a mental illness, and it's been perpetrated on them by their own teachers, by their own parents, by their own community. It's okay. Yeah, you are a girl. Yep, you certainly are. Well, let's get you on some puberty blockers right away, and let's alter and change your body for the rest of your life to where you're going to be dependent on big pharma for the rest of your days, however long that is. And oh shoot, you ended your own life because you were so completely miserable after you jumped through all these hoops and you never were happy, and it only complicated and made it worse. That's okay. We won't let anybody know that it is rampant, the suicide going on in that community.
Yep.
The ones who have transitioned, and the ones telling the story are the ones who have come back.
The child abuse.
And they don't get a platform. People don't talk to them. Erin Friday, I love the work that she's doing out of San Francisco, as a matter of fact, showing up the state Capitol building. And she's held many different rallies on the steps of the Capitol building with these boys who have said that they're girls and jump through all the hoops to become a girl, and then realize, holy crap, this sucks. And I'm an adult now, and I realize what a dumb idea this was, and I want to go back. She gives them a platform. She gives them a voice, but nobody's listening. Nobody's watching. And I love your article. Thank you for writing that. It's at townhall.com. Look up Arthur there.
Larry Sand, he's an education reformer. He writes every week about the slow disintegration or the rapid collapse of public education, how corrupt it's become, how kids are fleeing. He was a huge school choice proponent, and now he just wants to shut down public education entirely. It's all. So do I. He just got to that place.
It's a socialist education system.
Yes.
The whole premise of it is based on socialism. And it's turned into one giant babysitter. People just turn their kids over because both parents have to work now. Everybody has to work. Nobody Nobody can afford to stay home, be a stay-at-home parent. You just can't afford it anymore. And it's insane what's happening. It's sad, and it's got to end. And I don't know how. I don't
The
know
reason,
how.
and specifically, you know, and I just give a shout out to Larry Sand. He wrote to me, you know, he's the one I often am grateful for what he writes, but he wrote to me, this was a great article you wrote calling out the whole enabling adult culture that has allowed this transgender madness to persist. Something I want to build on with this too, that it's, you have school boards, we're afraid to get sued, we're going to lose funding. But again, it's like, at some point, are we going to put the well-being and the needs of girls ahead of money, or what? You talked about that earlier. It's like the sports, you know, the sports arenas, the vendors, it's all about money and who is getting hurt in the process. This is so wrong. It is so destructive. It's shameful. And you know, there was a story about this Westminster. It was an elementary school district. There was an issue of a confused boy going into girls. You know, we had this transgender madness. This was like maybe 20 years ago. Maybe it was, I think it was 2008, 2009. And the school district was saying, no, we're not going to do this. A bunch of people protested, and the school district risked losing its WASC accreditation. That means that kids would graduate from the district and their grades wouldn't count. This is the kind of force that is being pushed on school districts, that they must comply and must go along with this trans insanity. And this is why I'm saying we got to get school districts with brave enough school board members who will connect, and that all at once they're going to say, no, we're not going to do this. Let's see what the governor does. If you had 20 school districts and they say, no, we're not going to comply, forget it. And then let's see what happens across the state. That's the kind of thing that I think needs to happen. Is like, no, we're not going to let boys in girls sports. We're not going to let boys, you know, into girls spaces. We will not do this. Take our money. Let's see what you do. Are you going to shut down the funding for 20 school districts? Try us. Let's see what you do. Oh, well, we'll arrest you. Then you got the county sheriff. I guarantee someone like Sheriff Bianco, who supported Sonia Shaw and supported her colleagues on different school districts, you know, the sheriff will say, no, we're not going to force this. That's the kind of thing I want to see start happening. It's so hard to do, but we've got to start having that kind of a mindset. Sacramento, we're not going to listen to you. That's what needs to start happening. That's what needs to start happening.
He's absolutely right. Two major problems, though, are with the school boards, for example. In the county where I live, we flipped 3 or 4 different school boards, got more conservatives on there.
Good.
It was fantastic. Well, now they're bypassing the school boards. See, that's the only connection we have with public education, and saying, no, we need a voice. We need a ruling group of people who can make the final decision for these school districts and what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be run. And the administrative people at these school districts are bypassing the school boards, ignoring them completely and doing what they want. That's happening.
That's another angle. The administration, people are pushed, they're groomed. I mean, you want to talk about grooming. You have adults, they start out as teachers, they want to work their way up the ladder, right? They want to become the English coach, then they want to be a director of special ed, then they want to be a principal, and then they want to be a director. Like LA Unified, the bureaucracy is humongous. You know, you have a supervisor for the principals, and then you have administrators who work in downtown. And how else do you climb up the ladder? You have to say yes to everything. You are expected to walk in lockstep and accept and do what you're told and go along with the bureaucracy. There has to be.
Conservatives are not welcome.
This is, that's it. And
Christians
like you said,
are not welcome.
Yeah, and they use the COVID stuff, the forced vaccination, as a way to get rid of independent-minded people who would do what was right, rather than be forced to do what was legally enforced or required, even though by what authority can they force someone to take a vaccine or wear a damn mask? And the other problem are those damn teachers unions, because I know like some of the districts in your area, you had they said masks are voluntary, we won't force you. And the teachers union, they walked off the job. Walked off the job. This is,
and that's the other problem. That's the other thing. You will always have the California Teachers Association. Sounds nice, doesn't it? That's great. They have a little association so they can all discuss how to better teach our children. No, that's not what it is at all. It's one of the most powerful unions in the nation. In the nation, it is that big and powerful and full of money.
There you
And
go.
all these teachers have to join this union, be part of the CTA. It's a frickin' union. That's all it is. And they're the ones who, you're absolutely right. Well, we're going to force our members to not show up for work if you try and implement that. So those are the two things. And I think the answer is, at this point, just collapse the entire public education system. It's socialism at its finest, and teaching children. That's the worst part, but it's not by accident.
Yeah.
Another potential situation I see with public education is what's happening with you mentioned the medical and so on. It used to be a school nurse couldn't even give a kid an aspirin without getting permission from the parents. Well, now they're setting up entire med centers in schools, and they're prescribing, without the parents' knowledge, hormone blockers, all kinds of other crap.
I got to give a big shout out again to Mass Resistance. We were the only group in the Norwalk La Mirada area. This is 2 years ago now, but we were consistent. We lobbied and beat up on that school district when they had set up a well-being center at one of the high schools. Where
they always give it cute names like that.
Yeah, well-being center, but we know it's as Orwellian as it gets. It's more about death and dysfunction and destruction. And we were just really proud of what we didn't back down on this. A lot of people, they showed up, they protest, they go home. Mass Resistance, we didn't stop. We insisted that this thing had to be shut down. The money had to be pulled. We insisted on the obscene materials being removed. Previous superintendent put all the obscene materials in her office. So the books are now gone. If somebody still wants them that bad, then they got to ask her for it directly, little by little. But we want to have Mass Resistance, massresistance.org. I need you all to check us out. We want to get a movement of schools and school districts to demand a restoration of goodwill, good education, and good character. This is where we are positioned. It's completely understandable. People want to get out of the schools entirely. And you know what? If my daughter is going to be in danger having a boy and there's nothing, no one wants to stop it, I got to take my kid out. I get that. But the problem is there are all those other kids who are still being harmed. We've got to fight for them too. And we got to get school districts. If you have a school district, if you have a school board member who wants to fight the fight, have them call us. We want to start getting this network together so that we can shut down this abuse happening in our schools, shut down the bullying, this transgender bullying that's being imposed on the schools.
What it is.
LGBT mafia that's being imposed on the schools.
Homo mafia, I call it.
All of it. Homo mafia. The homo needs to go. It needs to. This is the whole point. We hear this crap. I am kind of going off on this. We heard this crap for years about, well, what difference does it make if two men marry? Well, now you've got a man who thinks he's a woman and he wants to be in your daughter's locker room. That's why it matters, folks. We are here today because people went along with yesterday. They gave us crap about Prop 8. They gave us crap about opposing Obergefell. We warned everybody that this was going to happen. And folks, we have to turn it back. That's where Mass Resistance is keen. That's where we are grounded. I don't mean to take over the leadership a little bit. My time's kind of short. I know I had something else I wanted to write about. Can we save it for next time? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
I think this subject, and not only that, but this issue of stopping all this crap in the schools, this is so important to me. And what Mass Resistance is doing is so important to me that I want to really double, triple down on your audience reaching out to us. If you're in Placer County, if you're in Siskiyou County, I don't care if you're in San Francisco, San Mateo, if you want to put a stop to boys in the girls' spaces, let's get together and make this happen. Massresistance.org. This is my commitment. We are pushing on this. We have to stop allowing adults to stand on the sidelines and enable this. Let's put an end to it. Larry Sand liked what I wrote. A lot of people have supported what I've been doing. Charlie, I'm with you, standing 100%. We need en masse resistance against this abuse. All of it.
Yeah. Strap on a set, parents, moms.
Stop making the girls do it. I can't, again, here's the third time I'm kind of mea culpa. These girls, why aren't they saying something? It's not their job to. It's the adults, it's the parents, the coaches, the teachers.
Yeah, it's not the girls. Oh, no. I'm talking to the parents.
I agree with you. That I'm affirming what you're saying, and it's on me. I just this is it. And it was the same thing. I mean, when we were fighting the mask mandates here in the South Bay, I was like, let's help the kids to say no to teacher. And the parents were saying, the kids need help. You can't expect a 10-year-old to stand up to a teacher on their own right away. They need
No.
to be trained,
And
and they need the parents supporting them. Like
I think we've all forgotten about the power of peer pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were teens, it was very, very powerful. You wanted to try and fit in. You wanted to be part of the crowd. You
There
didn't
you
want to
go.
stand out. Very few of us were actually brave enough to go, I don't care what you do. This isn't right. No, they're afraid. They're afraid. We've forgotten what it's like.
It takes time to develop that kind of courage, and adults need to show how it's done.
Exactly. Take some responsibility. All right, my friend. Thank you so much. Find him at aschaper1.blogspot.com to read all of his stuff, and I suggest you do it. And also massresistance.org, massresistance.org, a vitally important group that I hope you'll explore and see what they're talking about and what they're doing. They're taking the fight to the front lines, and I love them. I appreciate them so much, what they're doing. Thank you, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right, my man. And you can support me and help me by buying one of these mugs. My website right here. It's $20. I know, $20 for a mug. Well, I can get that on eBay for $2.99, made in China. Not this, you can't. Let's talk about politics and religion. And the reason why everything's more expensive is, for one thing, I only get half of whatever the profit is on top of making this and shipping it out. So that's not a lot. I think I make maybe a dollar a mug. So I got mugs, I got hats, I got shirts, or you can just give. There's ways to give there too. Venmo, PayPal. There's several other ways on there. At my website, charliesimons.com, to help me stay on the air. Would you do that for me, please? And would you hit that like button wherever you're watching this? Follow the channel at rumble.com/do-not-talk. All right. Commercial's over. Show's done. At least for now. Talk to you soon again. Until then, may God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God.